Are all sins equally bad? Of course not. It is, sadly, one of those ideas that has been entrenched in the evangelical church that is accepted as common wisdom, but it is fundamentally unbiblical. How do we know this? Well, because Jesus said so. If you remember when Jesus was rebuking the Pharisees, he said, among other things, "You tithe your mint and your cumin, yet you neglect" what? "The weightier matters of the law." Jesus believes some matters of the law are weightier than others. So where did this bad idea come from? A couple places. One, we're told by James, and rightly so, that when you break a part of the law, you break the whole of the law. Absolutely true. If I break a corner of a window, the window is broken. But that doesn't mean that it's all broken. And in the same way, if we break a part of the law, we've been demonstrated to be law breakers. But that doesn't mean that they're all the same. Some holes are bigger than other holes. In the same way, all sins are worthy of God's eternal displeasure. The wages of sin is death. You get paid with death no matter how many sins or how bad the sins may be. One sin is enough, no question about it. But to suggest that because every sin is worthy of eternal damnation means that every sin is equal is like saying that every number over 100, because it's over 100, is equal to every other number over 100. Well, 101 is over 100, but it's not as big a number as 1,000,001. Now, one of the reasons we're inclined to want to believe that there is a difference is because we are tempted to diminish our own sins. In fact, we tend to weigh the relative weight of different sins based on how likely we are to fall into them ourselves versus how likely others may be to fall into them. And that's foolish, and that's dangerous. We want to justify our sins by noting how small they are. When we want to say they're all equal, it's the opposite attempt. That is, we want to say my sins are not any worse than these little sins. Yes, of course, it's a terrible thing that I spread this vicious rumor about my neighbor throughout my community. But, all sins are equal, and this is no different than driving over the speed limit. Yeah, see, that's still self-justification, which is, again, what this is all about. What we need, what we're called to, is to have a standard like God's standard. And by the way, when Jesus says to the Pharisees, you tithe your mint and your cumin, but you neglect the weightier matters of the law, he doesn't say, quit worrying about your tithing your mint and your cumin. He says instead, these things you should have done without neglecting the other. I remember years ago, I was a college student, and I was engaging in some particular sins that were pretty common to college students. But I had a friend, one a professor, the other a student like me, who were concerned about me, and they came to my dorm room and asked me to go for a walk, and we were walking around the quad, and they said, "RC, I understand you've been doing this. I've been understanding you've been doing that. Is that true?" I said, "Yes, that's been true." And they said, "Well, you're supposed to be a believer. You're not supposed to be doing those kinds of things." And I said, "Look, you guys know me. You've known me for a long time, and you've known my reputation, that I can be really argumentative. I can be really mean-spirited. I can be really pugilistic, intellectually speaking. And I've really been focusing in and working on maturing on those issues and trying to learn how to not be such a big fat jerk." To which my professor friend said, "RC, that's great that you're working on those things, but working against sin X does not give you room to disobey or to commit sin Y." That's what I was doing. Are all sins serious? Absolutely. There are no little sins. Are all sins the same size? Absolutely not. Some sins are weightier than others.